Hey guys, if this is your first time to my channel, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Emily and today I am bringing you another spooky Sunday. Today we are going to be talking all about the Voynich Manuscript. Have you heard of this before? Because before researching this, I sure as heck hadn't. But get ready for this one because this story is kind of a wild ride. So the Voynich Manuscript is a book that consists of 240 pages with some of the pages that are missing. The manuscript has been carbon dated back to the 15th century and the early 1400s. So I know you're probably thinking right now, okay, so who cares about an old stinky book? Well, what is interesting about this manuscript is that it is an illustrated codex that has been handwritten in an unknown language and writing system. So even though this manuscript is from the early 1400s, the 15th century, and many people have looked at it over the many centuries that it has been around, no one knows what the heck it means or what any of the words mean in the book. In all 240 pages of this manuscript, no one has a clue what any of it truly is. The text in the manuscript is written from left to right, and most of the pages have weird illustrations or diagrams on them. Some of the pages are foldable sheets, and there seems to be some pages missing as well. From what we can tell, the book consists of 6 categories: herbal, astronomical, biological, cosmological, pharmaceutical, and recipes. You think they have spaghetti in there? Because I sure hope they have spaghetti in there. Now, even though this book has been carbon dated back to the 1400s, there really isn't much record of it before the year 1912, when a man named Wilfrid Voynich picked up the book from a book dealer. That is where the manuscript gets its famous Voynich name. It is Wilfrid's last name. Over the years, the Voynich manuscript has been studied by many professional and amateur cryptographers, including American and British codebreakers from both World War I and World War II. So these are very experienced people who basically were trained to break code. But even with the best in the world trying to decipher these codes and texts, no one has been able to figure out what the heck everything means. No one even knows what language the manuscript has been written in. Now, there is some hints towards some Latin roots, but none of that is official, and it's just a good estimation that most people have towards where the book may come from. As I was saying earlier, the book does contain a lot of imagery and diagrams of many plants that we do not have on our planet. Many plants that we've never seen before. Cryptographers and historians have looked at these plants that are in the Voynich manuscript and have not been able to have a conclusive answer for what the plants are and the origin as well. And this is very odd because there are a lot of plants in the world, but typically we can pinpoint where they come from if they look kind of unfamiliar. There is a database, if you weren't already aware, that exists where you can figure out what plant you are looking at easily. Especially now since we have the internet, it's pretty easy to figure out a type of plant if you aren't already aware of what it is. There is also quite a decent amount of illustrated topless ladies in this manuscript, so that's pretty interesting. Although many people have looked into the Voynich manuscript and spent many hours trying to decode it, there really isn't much of a theory to go off of for where this comes from, the book is about, and what language the book is in. Some people do think that the book might be a modern medicine handbook because of the contents, because of the recipes and the plants and whatnot. Maybe it was some kind of homeopathic medicine handbook that an ancient civilization used that we just don't know about yet. But because we don't have any definitive answers, these are all just speculations. The Voynich manuscript was eventually passed down from Wilfrid to a few other people, eventually ending up in the hands of Hans P. Krauss in 1969. He, amongst many others, tried to crack the infamous code, but was unsuccessful. So eventually, Hans donated the book to Yale University's Voynich Rare Book and Manuscript Library, where it has stayed there ever since. So let's talk theories, shall we? So the first theory is that possibly this book is from an ancient civilization that we have just yet to find. Now, I think that this is very plausible because the Earth is very much unexplored. 95% of our oceans have not been explored, and there are still places that are on physical land that we are just not able to get to and to explore. So it's not so out there to me that this book just might be a medicine book from an ancient civilization who also happen to really like drawing naked ladies, because there's a lot of them in that book, let me tell you. There is so much in this world that we do not know and understand and have not discovered yet, and will probably not be discovered for a very long time. And there are things in this world that may have happened that we may never even find out about just because it's been so long and evidence has washed away amongst time and whatnot. So I don't think it's so crazy to say that this may have been from an ancient civilization. Now, there have been a lot of people that like to debunk this fact because according to certain scientists and certain historians and cryptographers, the fact that so many people have looked at it and haven't cracked it by now means that it's probably not a real book, and it's probably not a legit book from an ancient civilization because we would have been able to crack it by now. And I think that's pretty damn cocky, if I do say so, because we don't know everything as humans. We do what we can and we try to improve, but there is so much in the world here that we do not know and do not understand, and it's just kind of ignorant to say, well, I can't crack it, so therefore it's not real. But that being said, this transitions us right into the second theory here, and the theory states that this whole manuscript is just a hoax by someone in the 1400s or by Wilfrid Voynich himself. Now, there have been so many people that have looked at this book, and the patterns that repeat in the book and the way that it's written, the way the words are written, seem to actually be a real language to the experts. Now, I am not a cryptographer even in the slightest, so I don't necessarily understand what that means and how they would be able to tell if something has been hoaxed or not. But I guess the way the book has been written does show evidence that the language itself is a real language and not just something that has been made up that someone is trying to hoax. So the last theory we are going to talk about today is the most otherworldly, if you will. Now, if you have seen some of my spooky videos on my channel before, then you probably know that I typically like to save the most weird and most alien related theories till the end because I find them the most interesting. So of course, we are going to be talking about aliens possibly being involved here. And I know it sounds crazy, but you just never know. So let's go ahead and jump on in. Some people believe that because we haven't found anything else with this language on it throughout all of the artifacts that we've found throughout all the years that we have been archaeologically digging for old ancient artifacts, the fact that we haven't found anything that's even remotely close to this is a little bit strange because even if we do find something that is in a new language to us, typically we will find things kind of around the same area or maybe even scattered throughout the world that has something similar to it. Now, for example, if we find a scroll in Asia that is written in a language that we don't currently know, typically we will find something maybe around the same part of the world or maybe even in a different part of the world where there will be something that is reminiscent of that language that we don't know, and we can kind of tie them together for those reasons. But there has been literally no discoveries like this throughout the many, many long years that people have been searching for answers about the Voynich Manuscript. The piece of evidence that really pushes me in the direction of aliens and, paranormal, otherworldly stuff is that the plants in the book are not ones that we have relative to Earth. Now, that's not saying that there didn't used to be plants like this on Earth and maybe something wiped them out, but because of carbon dating and because of the technology that we have as far as figuring out what plants used to survive in a certain area, we can pretty much nail down what kind of plants used to grow back pretty damn far. I'm pretty sure that we can go back as far as the 1400s. So if there was some sort of mystery plant, we would have some sort of evidence, but there has been no evidence, not even a tiny little shred. So that's what's odd to people who really like to dive into this theory, is that there is just no evidence that we have ever had these types of plants on Earth before, thus leading people to think that maybe this book is not from Earth. And, if you look back into history and if you are into aliens like I am, there are possibly many times when aliens have visited Earth and helped out humans and whatnot. I know it sounds crazy, but if you are into aliens and you are a believer like me, then I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But how out there would it really be for an alien race that might be visiting Earth to leave something behind by accident or maybe even on purpose? And if you really want to stretch your mind here and really open it up to the possibility of aliens, if this was left by aliens, maybe they left it here on purpose with some sort of message, some sort of code encrypted in the language itself and the pictures, and they want us to crack it. It's a puzzle that we cannot solve yet, and maybe we just don't have the technology to do so yet, but I'm hopeful for the future that we will end up cracking what the Voynich Manuscript is and what it says and what language it is and where it comes from, because this is a book that's just shrouded in mystery, and I think it's so interesting. I think the pictures are so strange and creepy, but they're kind of funny at the same time. But as of now, the Voynich Manuscript remains a mystery. But that is going to be wrapping up this week's Spooky Sunday. What do you think about all the information that you just absorbed here? Do you think that the Voynich Manuscript is just a hoax, or do you think that it actually has the key to life or something hidden deep within it that we just haven't really been able to uncover yet? We are just humans. We are not perfect. We cannot uncover every little mystery in the world. And I really hope that scientists keep trying to crack this case and crack this code, because there could be some very interesting and valuable information in that tiny little manuscript that could possibly rewrite all of history as we know it. And if this is a hoax, it's a damn good hoax, because no one's been able to figure this out or to even determine if this is real or not. So if this is a hoax, I know that dude's probably dead by now, but I'm sure whoever made this was probably laughing their way to the grave. I do hope that you consider subscribing if you have not already. I am doing Spooky Sunday or Spooky Saturday every single weekend, and if you like makeup videos, I got all sorts of those for you here on this channel. So I would love to see you hit that button down below. I hope you are having an absolutely amazing day wherever you are, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time. Bye! Stay spooky.